Yeah. Get all situated there, Ryan. Flip her right around. Oh. Everybody gets situated. Good to the Mid-Maine Chamber of Commerce's Business Breakfast Series. My name is Kim Linloff. I'm the President CEO of the Mid-Maine Chamber, and it's my pleasure to welcome you here today. Before we begin our program this morning, I want to take a moment to thank our 2026 Business Breakfast Series sponsors. They include Brookfield Renewable, NA, CGI Business Solutions, New Dimensions Federal Credit Union, Nicholson, Michaud and Nadeau, CPAs, O'Donnell Lee Martin Duboard, attorneys, and Sheridan Construction. The Morning Sentinel and Turner Publications are our print media sponsors. Mix 107.9 is our radio sponsor, and Kennebec Savings Bank is our video sponsor. Be sure, if you haven't already, to visit this month's breakfast spotlighter, Kelly Coffin. She's a business solutions consultant, and she had a table right out back. She's right here in the pink, so make sure to say hello. I'd like to welcome our newest chamber members, BWS Auto Sales, CDS Energy Services, Central Maine Customs, Cosmic Online, Friends of Messalonsky, Kennebec Montessori School, Kennebec River Restoration Trust, and Main Shore Event Decor. At this time, I'd like to remind you to turn off your cell phones in consideration of our guests, and please don't forget to complete the evaluation form on your table. You can either leave it there upside down or drop it on the registration table as you depart. You're invited to some of our upcoming events, and if you want to register, just go to midmainechamber.com and you can register online. We have a business after hours next Wednesday at Scow Savings from 5:30 to 7. Great evening of networking, good food, beverages, 50/50, door prizes. No registration is necessary. We'd love to see you there. Our first leadership luncheon of the year will be presented by Linda Ball. She's the president and CEO of Central Maine Power Company. That's going to be from 11:30 to 1 at Amici's Cucina on Friday, May 22nd. Our next, Business to Business Showcase is on Thursday, May 28th from noon to 6 at Thomas College in its field house. It's an exciting day with a $1,000 cash prize drawing, free admission, free parking, demonstrations, hiring and job opportunities. There'll be a food truck and a cash bar. Network with over 100 businesses. There is still space if you want to do a booth in it. And get ready for our brand new event. I see some of you have it in front of you, the Mid-Maine Fish Off, a week-long catch and release tournament across the area to be held July 18th through the 25th. You can get more information at midmainefishoff.com. Today's presentation will focus on changes to the FMLA and HR updates for your organization. There'll be time for Q&A at the conclusion of the presentation. This event is live streamed and a link can be provided. It's also being recorded and will be rebroadcast up on YouTube, so if you would like to see it or have your employees watch it at a later time at their convenience, we can provide that to you. At this time, I want to welcome Michelle Jolalabi, VP of Human Resources at Thomas College, and she's going to introduce this morning's speakers. Michelle?
Good morning and welcome. It is my pleasure to welcome back Peter Lowe and David Chulo. They're back by popular demand. Everyone loves this duo. They're a lot of fun. Peter is a partner with the law firm of Brandon Isaacson, with offices in Lewiston and Portland. Peter advises clients on labor and employment law and education law. He serves as employment counsel for numerous employers in Maine, including LL Bean and some of Maine's largest cities and school districts, including Thomas College also. And New Dimensions. He also represents many nonprofits. Peter has been recognized as a best lawyer for representing management and employment law since 2013. In addition to advising clients, he regularly conducts independent outside investigations. David Chulo is an experienced business and executive coach, trainer, and HR consultant who provides trusted HR solutions for organizations of all sizes. He is the CEO of Career Management Associates, a Northern New England HR consulting firm, HR thought leader, and speaker. David currently serves as a current board member and past president for both Human Resource Association of Southern Maine and the Maine Institute for Family-Owned Business. David is also past member of the Maine State Civil Service Appeals Board. Please join me in welcoming David and Peter.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Nobody's accused us of being quiet, so we'll do our best. Can everybody hear us okay? Yep. We okay on the mic back there? All right. Maine paid family medical leave. Woohoo! Who's excited? It's all good. So I just got back from a conference. The Maine HR convention is up at the Samoset right now. It's actually finishing up today, but I thought it was more important to be here. And Peter came back from England just to do this today. He just returned from England, and he's going to show you his accent today. He's been practicing it really hard, so it's all good.
I got identified in a pub as American when I was over there, so it's been corrupted.
Oh. Somehow.
And so after that, I was putting on my best sort of King Charles type of plum in my mouth accent.
Is that where you got the tan, was England?
It is, yeah. It was warm and sunny for 11 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you know, that's how it is. It's all good. All right, so we're going to talk about Maine paid family medical leave. Everybody familiar with it? Everybody know everything about it, right? All right. Well, there is a lot to it, but everybody knows at least the basics, is that you are going to be able to have employees apply for, either in a private plan or the state plan. You know, there's two options in terms of it, and you would have selected typically your private plan already in terms of that. And they are going to be able to select, be able to get paid family medical leave up to 90% of their pay. I say up to 90% of their pay. And that's the basic fundamental part of it. And then you as employers, if the employee chooses, get what we call top off, the additional 10%, so they are made whole for up to 12 weeks of the leave time period. There's a lot more to this, as you can imagine. So what we want to do today, Peter's going to talk about it, is provide a little of a case study for you at a high level to try to take you through what it might look like and how it might affect you. We are certainly not going to be able to talk about every single thing, but I'm sure you have questions, and we want to have time for that as well. Then we'll talk about some of the other fun stuff, right, in terms of what's going on today. Is this going to go on? Well, let's try that. Maybe this will. There we go. And then we're going to talk about other things. Go ahead, Peter.
Sure. Yeah. We've done a fair bit of education because this law was passed, about a year and a half ago or so, and there's been these different phases. But the rubber really has hit the road because as of May 1st, as probably you all know, employees can apply through their private plan or if you're with the state, and so. That is just starting to happen. I don't know, have any of you got employees who have applied, right? Yeah, we've got some already. And there's definitely an element with my clients of sort of a wait and see. What's really going to happen as this plays through? And there are so many questions that, frankly, have not been answered and we have to give our best informed judgment in addressing those. The state has put out, they've done webinars, you may have done them, they've put out information, Q&As. There is a fair amount on their website if you need that type of information, Department of Labor. But there are, and when we walk through some of these, there's some things that we simply don't have the answer yet. So rather than give you 50 slides with the detail of every rule here, we thought, let's just talk through a situation. And this was one, frankly, loosely based on a client who faced this very issue. So this is a wine merchant. And Maria works, she has a sales territory here in Maine where she's selling. She's going out to all sorts of customers and selling what they distribute. She was out last year in December, getting it right, a stress-related leave. And that was a leave that was already provided by their policies. And this is where it gets tricky, so bear with me. She received at that time FMLA leave, and probably you're all somewhat familiar or very familiar, some of you, with that. And so the easier way to think about that is FMLA leave, if it applies to your organization, and there's a Maine FMLA and there's a federal, adding a layer of complexity. But if it applies, that was an unpaid leave unless your company provided the pay for that leave, either through PTO or sick or whatever. That was mandated but unpaid. And the new law here in Maine is very clearly, plainly, a paid leave. But those two still may run at the same time. That's a little bit of detail, but she had taken FMLA leave, and some of you may know the intermittent FMLA leave is, it may be a day a week, it may be a day a month, it may be 3 days in a row, but that's the intermittent versus what we would call a consecutive leave, or full leave of absence when I'm out for weeks or even months. So she tells her employer, the wine merchant, she's back at work in March, and she said, look, in May, this was back in April, I'm going to need more leave, and I'm going to be applying under this new program, and starting in May, I am going to provide a provider's note, a doctor's note, that says I should take every Friday off. And no, bear with me. It's very reasonable here. Because my doctor says that having 3 days in a row when I'm not working, and some of you may have seen, sounds like you might have seen this note, 3 days in a row is what I need to reduce my stress. So we got a wine merchant. We're heading into the very, very busiest time, summer season here in Maine. People are going to be going out, eating meals, drinking, having barbecues, being at home. And she is going to be requesting every Friday off. And then in addition to getting, if she's approved for the paid leave for each of those Fridays, she's asking, can I take PTO, my paid time off? They have a bucket of PTO. Some of you may do that too. You bundle everything. And I want to use that to make my paycheck whole. I don't want to lose any money for those Fridays. And if the new program doesn't pay me enough under that formula, anybody worked out that formula yet? It's very complicated. If you don't know it, ask Michelle. She's got it figured out over there. Or you've got a friend who's figured it out. But so that's what she's asked for. All right, that's kind of the background.
All right, so here's the first question. Will Maria's stress qualify her for Maine paid family medical leave, based on what we told you? You think that she would be qualified, potentially? How many yeses?
Yeah.
How many it depends? Oh, I'm sorry, I used the legal term. It depends. And okay, so yes.
People pay highly for that
I know.
advice.
Yes,
It
I know. I do
depends.
too. I pay a lot for you to
Here's
say
another
it depends.
client here.
Yes. It's all good.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
this one of the reasons can be your own health condition here, of course. Could be a dependence as the separate reasons, but stress certainly could be. Here's one thing that's really important to understand about this new law, this paid leave, is you don't make the decisions, which is either good or bad, whatever your perspective. But you're not deciding whether her stress is sufficient to make her eligible for benefits. Does it mean she can't work on those days? It's not your call. It's the insurance company, which is whoever, if you have a private, or it's AFLAC, another insurance company, who are running the state program. So she applies, and whether she's eligible or not based on her condition, it's not your call. And you don't have any right to appeal that. That's their decision. So yes.
Does Maine paid family medical leave allow her to work a 4-day week? Yes. Good answer. Two yeses in a row. We have a roll. Yes, of course. I think the question then becomes, so what can that be for half days? For 1 hour, right? And the law's pretty clear. The increment is 8 hours, so the full day, unless the employer works out a different potential arrangement with that person. But the law does say you can make it an 8-hour day in terms of they can take a full day for that, and they would be paid for that.
Yeah, you're not, I mean, I think the minimum that you can approve for is 1 hour.
Correct.
You could say you can take this 12 weeks of leave in 1 hour increments. But I would say most clients are doing it in what's called a full work day, which is typically 8 hours. But if that person's work day was 6 hours, then they would be able to take the 6 hours. Just, this is one of the things that I, just personally, no bias about it, but I think makes it really challenging because it's not, this leave may be taken by many of your employees, childbirth, bonding, 10 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever it is. That may create hardship, but it's something you've supported before, you can plan around, but it also can be taken on a reduced schedule basis. That's the term. And so a reduced schedule can be a 4-day week. And, if you've got 12 weeks of leave, I'm not good at math today, but 12 weeks of leave, and I'm taking, he's laughing, and I'm taking it, 1 day a week is quite a bit.
Yes.
So essentially, I am making a full-time position a part-time, a reduced schedule position. And if I'm taking 2 days, I'm getting into a part-time position. All right, but there is another question following that. Well, yeah, we'll get, yeah. So.
That was quick. Didn't have to read the question.
Yeah.
Yes.
There was a time, I think, when we first prepared this, where some of the private insurers were saying you don't have to offset leave that the person's taken in the last year. And the state came in and said, yes, you do. So
Very clear.
So if someone's taken leave in that last 12-month period from when they apply, and it's, let's say, a FMLA leave. It's not every leave, by the way. It's an FMLA leave. And that could be Maine or federal. Then you offset it. What this means is one important takeaway for everybody. If you are not in the habit of classifying medical leaves as FMLA leaves, and I know I have clients, they're very generous, they give leaves, but they haven't actually gone ahead and certified it as an FMLA leave. and told the employee, we are tracking this as an FMLA leave, then that may limit your ability, and then you can have a double dip. The person's taken 12 weeks, and then they apply for 12 more weeks, and they said, well, you never counted that last time. So one thing moving forward, you may think, geez, this is all being taken care of through the private plan and insurance, and it's being coded and classified, but you need at the same time, if it qualifies, to track it, designate it, and count it as a family medical leave as well. And many of the leaves will qualify for both. So
And that is really important. to
really
make
technical
sure
issue, but really important.
you tell them you are running them concurrently. It's really important.
One other thing, while I'm just thinking about it, beware of this. So Maria, let's say Maria's already taken 10 weeks, and she applies through the program, and they say, yeah, stress, but you've only got 2 weeks. You're going to only take 2 weeks. It's not always the end of the story. This drives people crazy, but if she has a disability, then potentially she gets leave under a whole separate basis of rights, which is the Americans with Disabilities Act. And if it's a reasonable accommodation, big if, and that's when I give lots of it depends answers.
Yeah.
So you can't automatically say, hey, yeah, the state just said you get 2 more weeks, and then you're done. We're over with it. You've got to be working. There are circumstances when it's someone's own medical condition that you may need to consider whether or not it's a disability, whether additional leave is reasonable. So that's tricky too.
So simple.
So once we're done with this, we just got really good news for you. So the new laws that have come out, they're so easy to comply with. We're just doing the hard stuff first.
Right. Okay. Next question. Does the company have any options it believes that this leave creates a business hardship? There is business hardship in the law. So do they have options? What are the options? Peter?
Yeah, there's a whole process. And this is new. And Maine is by no means the first state to pass one of these laws. But this hardship is unique to Maine. So we're like, how's it really going to work? But my wine merchant can say, this is crunch time for us. This is really going to create a problem for our business. I mean, it's going to stretch thin the other 2 salespeople we have. They're going to have to, work overtime, or they're going to maybe salary and commission, but they're just going to be run ragged, and therefore this doesn't work. Their option is to file this. Essentially, it's a notice saying this will create an undue hardship, and there's a 10-day period in which to do it from the claim. You're being notified about the claim. This is where we don't really know yet, because there's been no case yet. But it appears that your insurance company, if you're privately insured, will decide that, which is unusual. I mean, usually insurance companies are deciding eligibility and other, but they're going to kind of make a business decision for you, which I get why the legislature did it, because they heard the business community saying, Jesus, this could really create some problems. All right, we'll give you an undue hardship. But you can't simply say, hey, we're not going to do it, it's an undue hardship. They decide, number one, and you have to offer an alternative for that person.
Right.
So in this case, if I'm advising the wine merchant, I say, well, what is the best day for that person to miss in the week? Friday is really the worst. It's heading into the weekend. How about Tuesday? And they say, it's not good, but it's better. We would make that proposal through this undue hardship process. And then beyond what we need to talk about, if the employee doesn't like that, they can appeal. If we don't like it, we can appeal. I don't know what happens in the interim.
Yeah, this is all new.
It's all new territory, but that is built in. If I was talking to the wine merchant, I'd say, hey, talk to her and just say, be open, transparent. She knows it already, but explain what that's going to mean. That it's going to mean your other two colleagues, this is what they're going to have to pick up. And why don't we pick another day? Can you explore that with your provider? Have that, we call it the interactive dialogue with ADA, but at least try to nip that one in the bud. Yes?
Couldn't another option be, so apparently she needs the 3 days off for the stress, but so she's not losing time, couldn't she work possibly off her full 10 with an accommodation? Where she's still getting all of her hours in, but still has 3 days off?
So the question was really, could she be talked to about an accommodation of working potentially 4 10s
After the 2 weeks.
after the 2 weeks that she has taken off that is already approved?
That's pretty stressful.
Always.
Yeah, I think we know the answer.
Works for me, so.
I mean, look, in the case that she needed 3 days, Monday would probably be the other alternative, right?
Right.
If she needs the
Yeah,
3 days,
yeah.
a reasonable, Monday is not the big day, Friday is the big day, still has the intent of what she needs, which is 3 days in a row to make that happen, right? So that to me might be, we might have initially said 2, but settle on Monday. Well, I can't get the 3 days in a row, which is what my medical provider says I need. Okay, how about Monday? That would seem a reasonable way to combat or counter that. It's probably not great either, but it is better potentially than the big day on Friday. In terms of it.
So this, yes, go ahead.
So if I have 10 days to file for business hardship, how long do they have to respond?
There's nothing in there.
There's nothing in there
No,
to say that
that's-
answer. So
I
the
don't
question
remember.
is, because I want to make sure the TV can hear it, is that if we have 10 days to respond, how long do they have to respond? How they choose to decide to. We don't have
Yeah.
the answer on that.
I have a test case already because I have a client up in the Skowhegan area, very small business, and they saw it coming, and guy's going to apply, and it basically reduces their production of the small business by 25% with him gone. And this person said, I've got tariffs that are already crushing me, and the uncertainty about what will happen with that, and this reduction, that's going to put me out of business. And I don't think he wasn't the type who was exaggerating. He said, I've been right on the margin. I said, we're going to file this form, and we're going to explain that. And that's an important thing to do, I think, is don't just say, hey, this is an undue hardship, but put your best foot forward and say
Right.
that.
Right.
Now, the challenge will be, and then we suggested, an alternative leave schedule that wasn't the one we know the person is asking for, and we'll see how it plays out. I'm kind of, for his business sake, I'm hoping that something will work out. But the challenge, and I think people believe who aren't in these businesses, and this was a skilled position, just hire a temp. And he said, there's no temps to be had. I can't find a temp to do this. I'd have to train them for 12 weeks to even get them anywhere close to doing this. So,
Right.
That was a small business. And of course, there's no numerical threshold. It's not that if there's 4 of you, the law doesn't apply. And so I've got, you heard it in the beginning, I've got a client like LL Bean with 5,000, I don't know how many employees they have now. They can absorb it. They've dealt with these things. Yeah, there may be some issues, but they will rarely be saying this is a hardship. But, the guy who has the tiny business definitely is.
Yeah, question in the back.
While they're trying to hash all this out, they have 10 days, and then the other person has as long as they want. The person's working this whole time?
Well, they are working. It's all to be determined, but the leave, let's say what's happened is the person has applied but has not necessarily been approved within that 10-day window, I don't think. They've applied,
That's
you've
correct.
been given notice of it, and you're saying, hey, hold on a minute, this is going to create a hardship. So I would say, yes, they are still working because the leave has not been approved.
I think the only other thing I'll add, it depends on if it's a sudden necessity.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So if we're talking an emergency situation where somebody immediately has some sort of thing that has happened. But in most cases, you apply, you wait for a response from the state from the insurance company. So that period is usually about a week to 10 days to 2 weeks that they're going to take to make decisions based on what we're hearing.
Yeah.
That could change, but most insurance companies take a week or two to get you an answer, unless it's a sudden necessity and then it moves to
Yeah.
funding. So that's the
Got
answer.
one more here.
Yes, sorry. Yeah.
So chances are, if they need the leave, they're probably not going to work and they're going to be taking sick or PTO time. If it is approved in the end, are they getting that sick or PTO time back that they used while they were waiting for the response?
Well, it will depend.
Will depend.
In my mind, again, let's say it's Unum. It will be when does the Unum approve, not the date they approve it, but what period they approve it for.
Right.
So Unum presumably will go back and say, yeah, we've now made our decision, and in fact, on day one, you were eligible for your own condition. Was it 7 days or 5 days or whatever that you don't get benefits, and so that would be PTO. But yes, I think there will need to be an adjustment if it's been 3 weeks and they've been out and they've used up all that PTO. All right, we should do a couple more because
Sure, yes.
some of the new developments actually that we want to talk about in addition to this law, we could talk about this all morning, and you probably don't want us to talk about it all morning, but
So this is a good one. We talked about.
we've done that one already, haven't we? Yeah.
The succinct with FMLA, right? So work with.
You mentioned that already, yeah.
Yes.
So yes, again, this is how things change. Originally, we were like, you can decide whether you allow an employee to. That's not the case anymore. The Department of Labor, even though it's not in the law, has taken the position that you can top up. So
I will say a number of employees are not taking this. What they're doing is saving their PTO.
yeah, and you
taking
can't
the 10%.
require
You
it.
can't
By the way, you
require
can't
they take it.
require a top up.
Right, that's the difference.
All right. Let's move on.
Yeah, we're going to move on.
We'll
to
move on.
those.
There's a whole ton more, and I don't want to, just have this one dominate. If there's other questions that you have, we can probably
Yeah, we
address
can
them
talk.
afterwards. Or, I've heard from some people that they've had some success in reaching out to the Department of Labor. So don't hesitate to do that because this is all new turf, and to the extent you're working with a private insurance company, these are a lot of questions. Some of them they may be able to help you with as well. Much more benefits related and eligibility versus your own policies. Actually, the last thing I'll say on this is we've developed our own sort of sample policy. We've been sharing it with anybody who wants a copy, so we gladly provide that if you haven't done a policy yet. Some of your insurers will provide you with a policy. I've heard that some of them give a policy. My own critique of the ones I've seen is they are too detailed. And if policies are intended to both guide you but your employees, then some of those read like the regulations, as like too lengthy. But you do need a policy, by the way, if you don't have one.
Yeah, and I will make a mention about the authority, who is the part of the DOL running this program, is now doing audits. And they are asking for basically 3 things. They're asking for a copy of your policy. You'll get a letter, right? Copy of your policy, copy of the poster where we have actually seen one where they asked to be sent a picture of it up on the wall. And then the third was what you have provided as the required notice to every employee, which you should have already done by now. If you haven't, you need to provide that notice to them as well.
And you can find the posters and the notice on the Department of Labor website, but you are meant to give employees this notice as well, so they're aware of this. And I had a client about a month ago get this audit letter, and they were all good, but it asked for the policy, even though the rules and the law don't explicitly say you have to have one, but they said, hey, give us your policy. Right. So, and I already said last comment, but last comment is that for those of you who have been working on this, and we work with a lot of people on this, the hard thing is the easier part is a standalone policy. It's how it intersects then, as you know, because you've got unpaid leave, you've got FMLA, you've got ADA, you've got PTO, and how do they all intersect?
If they qualify for paid family medical leave but don't under regular federal FMLA, what do you do in that case?
Say that again, sorry. If they,
They're approved through
Yeah, if they have paid through,
medical leave but don't qualify for FMLA.
I think they just track then on the paid family medical leave. Of course, they might at some point qualify.
But they still only get 12 weeks.
correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Right here.
Is a week considered 40 hours?
Yes, it is.
So what if they have over 40 hours a week? And that's their norm, like these guys have a 42-hour work week.
Yeah. Well, this is where I would defer to, are you with the state plan? Is that, what, do you know what your,
We have a private.
Private insurance.
your private plan?
I would talk to them.
I would talk to them and
I'm
see.
sure HR has figured this out, but.
Yeah.
Just a question.
No, that's a good question, because I believe the assumption is around 40 hours. But I'm going to guess they're going to say, if customarily you're working 42 hours, we're going to treat it as a 42-hour week, and benefits would be based on that. That's a bit of a guess on my part, but it may be accurate.
All right, let's talk about artificial intelligence.
Or is it 12 weeks times 40 hours? It's the hours, because you also have to track the hours if you're
Yes.
taking days.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it would be 12
Yes.
times 40
Yes.
for the number of hours.
Yeah, for the
Yes,
number of hours.
that's correct. It is based ultimately on hours.
But again,
Depends.
not to pass the buck, but if you've got private insurance, they are the ones now who are, they're determining benefits, paying benefits, and they calculate that.
Again, it's based on the average. So if
They're
somebody's
going to
a
get
part-time
information
work,
from you, but they're the ones
different.
who will be making the call on that. All right.
last question, and then we got to move on.
How does that work if you have like short-term, long-term disability through your company, but you're only getting like 70% of your pay? Does that kick in to give you the other 30% of your pay?
Well,
That's
it's
a
complicated.
insurance question.
It's complicated. Short-term disability is not, the way they've written it right now is not an offset.
Right.
So you can't say, hey, you're getting short-term disability, therefore your benefits are reduced. It will probably be the other way around, in fact, because the insurance company will say, you're getting paid leave, your STD, either you get none or it's reduced. Long-term disability is different, but I would definitely talk to your insurer, your benefits provider, because that's another complex area. Yeah.
Oh, let's talk about artificial intelligence, which, has everybody got intelligence? Let's just start with that. Who uses AI in their work? So how many of the people that do use ChatGPT predominantly, or Microsoft's version, right? Copilot, right? Those are the two we see the most used. So how many people let them use it for anything? Anything, right? Do they put in your clients' names? Do they put in their address? Do you write employee policy, things where disciplinary action have the employee's name in there? Are you aware there's closed loop AI and open AI? There's a difference between the two. This is why you have to think about policies for it. Because first of all, everything you put into ChatGPT, unless you have a closed loop or Copilot, again, a closed loop means that you're only using data that you're putting in, not sending it out to the web. An open loop is like ChatGPT. You put it in, goes everywhere, and anybody else can see it or get it or anything from that part. So obviously, we talk about having a policy for that, about the conversation you have to have is what do you need and use it for? And then what don't you want the world to see? And that's a really important question for you. If you are a service industry, do you want to put your client's information in there so that they see everything out and it goes out to the open AI? Do you want your employee records to be in there?
And one thing that we're seeing on the legal front is if you've got a really challenging employee and it is or may result in a claim, those happen. That's the world we live in. Everything you're asking, chatting with, is now being asked for by the lawyers who are representing your employee or former employee. And if you ask your lawyer, and this isn't a shameless promotion of lawyers, but if you ask your lawyer, we have something called the attorney-client privilege. So when I talk to Michelle, I send her emails, it's under a cloak of confidentiality. If you say, hey, can I fire this person, or whatever it is you're putting in there, that they've got this medical condition, we all of a sudden are finding that's being asked for. And, you know, there are things that people are finding there that are helpful to their claims. And then, this is just a kind of an interesting development. There was one company who, and this relates to the couple of slides we have, who were just being hammered by this former employee in a court case where she was filing motions, briefs, practically every day. And they looked kind of on the surface legit. Of course, they were all AI generated. So this insurance company who was being sued has sued, I forget which of the massive AI companies, for, in essence, the unlicensed practice of law. That you are acting as lawyers by giving all of this information, and you're not allowed to. There's very strict licensing laws, and that's illegal. So that's going to be really interesting to follow, which segues to these two. We're just going to show you a couple. This is the version of the email before AI from the unhappy employee. You may not read it, or I'll say, I don't understand what's going on, why I'm suddenly put on administrative leave. No one's explained anything to me. I feel like I'm being punished. I've worked here for years, all capitals, and this is how I'm treated. I deserve to know exactly who's accusing me of what and why you think I harassed someone. The whole thing feels retaliatory, completely unfair. And I want my file, So it's you've all seen this. The person's really fired up. This is what we're seeing now. It's polished. I'm requesting, why I've been placed. I'd appreciate clarification of the general concerns so I can understand and respond appropriately. In addition, I'm formally requesting my personnel file cite to the statute. This is not made up. This is exactly what we've seen now in more and more cases. I wouldn't fully cooperate with the investigation. So this person who's ranting and raving has taken a step back, and one employee, I know this employee, I've seen how she communicates, and we just had this massive shift because, fair enough, she's using AI. That's her right, absolutely fine. But what we're seeing is it's creating an incredible amount of work. Remember the case I said where they filed something every single day? She's sending something like this every day. She goes home, she gets up in the middle of the night, she wakes up in the middle of the night, and there's another 10 requests in this very polished AI-generated communication. And this isn't isolated. I don't know if you've had this yet, but you will see it. And, this is more an awareness issue right now than, here's the concrete advice how to deal with it. I mean, you've got so many other things to do that if this is taking up hours a day because of these communications, it's not going to work. So, I told you I'm bearing of great news. But we will see more and more of this. I don't know, Dave, whether you've seen it.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing a lot in terms of recruiting, right? So people are using AI, putting in all the resumes and putting in all this, and say, generate me the things that match best. And sounds like a reasonable tool. LinkedIn has an AI, Indeed has an AI, everybody has an AI, right? The challenge is there already is a lawsuit in regards to what is AI using the criteria on, and is it discriminating in some way? Some of the challenges is that we're finding they don't know. They're not really sure what is actually creating that answer. And this is a bigger question having to do with AI in general. So we're just saying, be very careful with what you're using, because somebody could say, so tell us, if it's humans, tell us what criteria you used. If you're just shoving it into a machine and making them do all the work and selecting the two best candidates, what are you really using for criteria? That's a question.
that there have been a lot of lawsuits now filed on the screening of resumes through AI and what criteria really are they using. Anyway.
Couple
All
other
right.
things as we're heading into time here. What's that? 20 minutes.
20 minutes. Oh,
So follow that card. Okay, perfect.
all right. All right.
All right,
I had a
go
clock running in front of me at yesterday at the Maine HR convention, and then it turns a certain color, and it's like, I think they did that specially for me.
I flipped the switch. I did.
Oh, you were
Flipped the switch.
But all right, yeah, let's cover these three. Are you everyone familiar with the new surveillance law in Maine? No. All right.
Oh, you're not?
All right. We'll cover it high level.
Right.
We have done, if I recall, our firm, Brown, we've done an alert on this. So if any of you need that, you can let me know. You can email or whatever. We can send out that alert again. But that alert summarizes what this law is and what you need to do. It's if you are using electronic means, which would include a computer and other devices, to monitor employees. What monitor means is not defined, but if you are using electronic means to monitor, give you an example. Customer service rep who you have the ability to either listen in to their conversations, or you can go in and you can look at their chat, but you want to see how they're representing your organization.
Or you record the conversation.
Or you record. That's monitoring, by way of example. You may not know, frankly, whether you are able to monitor, or you probably know if you are, but so that's the essence of the law. What it's saying is, if you are doing monitoring, and it excludes like security surveillance is one example, or if it's a vehicle you're providing, not the personal vehicle, but a vehicle you're providing and there's a tracking, that's excluded. But you're meant to give notice to the employees annually that you engage in surveillance under this new law. Do you have to say these are all the things we're doing? No, not in my opinion. It's simply pursuant to Maine, it's a check the box exercise, frankly, to say this is what we're doing. I'm advising most of our clients just go ahead and do it. Like, it's better to do it rather than to really try and figure out are we or are we not. And if you're not, but in a month you bought new software and you're doing something different, all of a sudden the law will apply. And I'll just get to one other thing and I'll try to answer your question. It says if you are one of these employers who are monitoring or engaging in surveillance, when you are hiring employees in the future now, this will take effect in July, I believe.
Yeah, July.
You must, during the interview process, words from the law, inform the applicant that you engage in surveillance. So Dave and I were actually chatting about the presentation this morning sitting there versus whatever nonsense we normally talk about. Yes. And we were debating that issue. It's like, it doesn't say during the hiring process. It says during the interview process. We don't think it is a particularly good sales point to say, hey, Dave, really nice to meet you.
As a recruiter and as somebody who does hiring, I go, hey, would you like to work for me? I monitor you, though.
Yeah.
Right?
You
it's
will
not
be
the
monitored.
first thing to start, right?
So do you do it in, you've received the application in a letter saying, hey, we're great to interview just under our policies. It's yet to be figured out. Some other people, and we were debating this, is like, if you are making an offer and say, hey, we do background checks, we do this, we do reference checks, and by the way, we monitor everything you do you put it in there? We debated that, and I don't think it's an answer yet, but it doesn't say during the hiring process.
Right.
It says during the interview. That's not an interview, is it, once you've got the job offer?
Well, during the interview process, it's, well, where I am, it's customary to give the person the job description. Why can't it be included?
Could be
Could
there.
be, could be that.
Could be there. So
Yeah.
think about ways.
That's
That's
exactly
great,
right.
great point. Could it be
Yeah.
with the job description?
Or when they fill out an application, could be part of the application process. You have all these things part of it. Again, we don't have every answer today because, again, it just came through. We're working on that now. But
Yeah.
yes, question.
This is random. I have an app on my phone, so I know who, Jamie, opened the chamber office today at 7:48.
That could be monitoring.
I would treat it as monitoring.
Yes.
I would.
Yes, I
Yeah.
would. I would indeed do that. Yes.
Two questions. What is considered notice? Does it have to be written notice?
There is going to be a written
It
component.
has,
Yes.
There has to be written notice.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you have to do this written notice every year.
And the notice is to inform them that you are engaging in surveillance.
We haven't
doesn't-
worked out the language
It doesn't
yet, but we're
say
working on it
explicitly,
now.
this is how we are doing it. And
Right.
I'm advising clients they don't have to then describe. Now, you might get asked, of course, like, so what are you doing? But the notice, there's no form yet from the Department of Labor, and I doubt there will be one. There is a poster. So that will help. Go on the Maine Department of Labor website, and there is a poster now, and you are required, once the law is in effect in July, to put that poster up. Goodness knows how you've got room, because more and more. 10 minutes.
10 minutes. Okay.
Anyway, we have as I said, there is an alert with more details if you need that.
gotta move on to the next.
But there are a few other laws that we really need to cover in the 10 minutes, and I don't want to go long and wear out our welcome. But this next one is really important. And it's really new. And it's all part of the federal government's immigration enforcement. They have changed very quietly, no announcements, nothing, in April, the way that they audit and impose penalties for I-9 violations. It's not theoretical. I have a client, small again, nonprofit. They were being audited before this change. And it looked as, we looked at all the records, and yeah, they missed like dates of birth, dates of hire, signatures. Everybody does it. That's the truth.
True.
And
Yes.
we were, long story short, submitted it all, and it looked like ICE said to us, we'll send you, a notice of correction, which used to be like, here are the things you need to clean up. Clean them up within 10 days, you're good. They then said, oh, we're not going to send you that anymore. I was like, oh, that's odd. The next thing was a $28,000 fine.
How much?
$28,000.
But remember, in fining for the I-9, it's per error.
Per error.
error.
Small. This is they don't have $28,000. It's a small nonprofit. $28,000 fine. They were unlucky to be being audited when this change made, and it's like too bad. There's. Dave, you want to put up the slide on that? Because I think
sure.
it has.
Yes.
Let's go to this one. Here we go.
Yeah.
So quickly, and I think you got these slides. Birth dates, hire dates. If you miss out the employer or the representative's titles, I'm not going to read the list. You can see it for yourself. But these were before regarded as technical, minor, correctable errors. The whole concept was that if you are doing your I-9s in good faith, you may well make mistakes, but we're not going to hammer you for them. We are. That's the reality. There's an appeal, and we're going to go through an appeal and all the rest. But it's changed the landscape. So what do you need to do? You need to, be super vigilant about your I-9s, your HR department or whoever. And if the best advice would be to audit the ones that you have already, because if you make corrections now before you're audited, there's a means to do that. There's guidance from Homeland Security, how you do it. You want to do it in a very visible, transparent manner, but you can, before they come knocking, and their budget is massive now. And so they are hiring way more inspectors who will be doing audits. So it's not just there could be an audit. There are going to be more and more audits.
And these are typically administrative audits. They're not going to typically come to your office. They could, but
they do.
They could too, but they also are sending letters.
But they show up.
Right.
And this nonprofit had 3 agents show up at the office. And what they do is they suggest that you should provide all of the I-9s then and there. And let's be honest, there's an intimidation factor with 3 armed agents with police emblazoned on them. And you don't have to. You have 3 days in order to provide that information and collect it together.
This is a big escalation. There was always fines, but only fines
Yeah, this is a big
shift.
change. Yeah, we got one question there and one there, and then
we have to go on to the next.
We
so
do
we
have one
5
other
minutes.
thing.
Yes, go ahead.
If your I-9s are electronic through your entire onboarding system, you don't still have to print
Yes,
them.
you do.
You do?
You have to. You say print them.
Yes.
Oh, print them? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said you have to provide them.
No, print them.
No, you don't.
No.
You can electronically have them.
But they've made it very clear that if the software you're using, in fact, made some errors, it's not your error, but it was the software or whatever it is. They actually explicitly said that. That's no excuse. You're going to get fined.
Correct.
Yes. They called that out specifically.
And just a note, a difference like for a date, it's 06. If you don't have the 06 at first, I should say 06. If you're missing that 0, that still is an error. So it's very clear on what, there's an example on the I-9 that tells you exactly how you have to do it. You have to follow it exactly as it says.
Anyway, we'll take that question.
Yes.
Yeah, so do the I-9s have to be at the same location as the business, or can they be at a business office?
They can be at a business
Business
office.
office.
Yeah, you can centrally maintain your
Yeah.
I-9s.
All right.
All right, rapid fire.
Oh,
There's a lot here, but the new law that's just passed in the legislative session has established a much more robust process for the Department of Labor to enforce the laws. Simply put, more complicated. They can issue subpoenas, they'll do investigations, increase fines, and this is for any violation of Maine's unemployment or employment laws. So if you previously dealt with the Department of Labor, and I've had many good dealings, cooperative, I've had really good dealings with some of their inspectors, that won't necessarily change, but they've got way more tools to enforce the law. In particular, they have now, they never had it before, they can have a subpoena. You get a subpoena, that's a court order, and then you have to provide potentially testimony under oath. So that's new, very new. There'll be more to come, but let's move on from that. That's if you get enforced.
well, we're still going to need to talk about the
We had
the new law.
So new pay transparency law, do you know what that is? Yeah, that's in a nutshell, in 3 minutes, the new pay transparency law takes effect July
25th or something,
25th,
22nd,
anyway.
somewhere in the 18 to
It
25.
means when you post a job, electronically, wherever, you need to disclose in that job the pay range for the position. It's been the law in other states, but you need to say, this is the pay range for the position that we're hiring for. There's more detail that time doesn't permit. What is a pay range? How do you figure it out? And we're going to issue an alert on this one. We haven't yet because it's so new. But that's the essence of it. You need to put a pay range. If an employee is, a firefighter and says, hey, I want to know the range of compensation for my position. Now, you may have a collective bargaining agreement that gives all that information, so it's not the best example. But any employee can ask for the amount that, not specific to an individual, but what are other people being paid in a range for this job?
Position.
For my position. So it's not just applicants. they can ask that, and you have to provide that. And then you have to keep, you probably do already, pay data for your employees, and after they leave, you have to maintain that for 3 years after termination. So that's brand spanking new, just passed.
I will tell you, we do compensation work. We've been done it for many, many years. And this is the biggest call we have had in the last 2 weeks to figure out pay ranges. Because you got to be able to defend them. You can't just say, hey, I think, right, in terms of that.
We have a term at the college, we talk about similar disciplines. So if your employee came and said, this is what I'm making, and I think that I might be making, what a nurse should be making because I'm an EMT. And so we talk about similar disciplines. So if an employee is looking for that range of pay that is available to them, is it all employees that you're asked to provide?
No. Just their range.
Just their range?
Their range. Yeah,
Their
but
range of their specific job.
I think I'd have to look at the law specifically to see, but I think it's their job.
Okay.
Now, if they have
their
interest in another job
Yeah.
and they
so-
are a viable candidate,
Right.
and they would be applying, then yes, you have to provide what they would be
Yeah.
going for or other aspects. It's not like others. There are some states that require, I believe Massachusetts is one of them. If I want to know anyone's,
Right.
then I can learn that. That is not in this law.
Thank you.
About ready to get the hook. One last question, and then we're out.
How do you break that down versus, say, a tenured employee? If I've got a heat pump installer that has 25 years of experience and can go in and be proficient on the
Yep.
job, and they can do everything by themselves, and they don't require anybody, that person, to me as a business owner, is much more valuable than somebody that is,
Yes.
that's still maybe got the training wheels on
Yep.
them, maybe they're not certified.
So that's part of the compensation analysis. You might have a beginner range, you might have an intermediate range, you might have a seasoned range in terms of somebody who's been there a long time. You might have to create a different range for somebody who's been doing it for 30 years, 40 years. So that's all part of the process. It doesn't say that the range has to be massive. You can range it down to specific areas.
And just, you're talking about applicants here in your question, is that right? Or
Or just post it.
yeah. If you're posting it, you're setting the range for the job that you're hiring for.
Correct.
You're not having to disclose in your posting, hey, by the way, we pay someone, 25 years way up here, because that's not the range for the job you're hiring for.
That's what I'm talking about. You segment it out to where
Yeah.
we need a beginner. So you're going to give a beginner range for what that
Yeah.
is. Might be 50 to 75, but he's 100. You don't have to talk about the 100. You're going to talk about the 50,
Yeah.
50 to 60, whatever it is in terms. Happy to talk more about that. To try to
Thank
do
you,
that.
gentlemen. Since we have a lot of HR people in the room, I wanted to